Okay, good morning, all of you. And today I'll not be doing any maths. Rather, I'll tell you how to overcome maths anxiety, as you can see on the screen. Now, before I go further, I think like this is a very important and crucial videos for all of you, not only for those who are preparing for JEE kind of examination, but also a general approach for reducing your mathematical anxiety. Now, as I have told, like there is nothing called mathematical tonic, or I'll not prescribe you some medicine which will, like overnight will reduce your mathematical anxiety in case you have. For those who are not having any kind of mathematical anxiety, this video definitely is not required for you. So you can just skip the video and start doing maths. Okay, so before we go further, a little bit, I'll first define what basically is maths anxiety. So one definition of maths anxiety can be panic, helplessness, paralysis, and mental disorganization, right? That arises among some people when they are required to solve a mathematical problem. So this is not, like a completely constitutional mathematical definition. This is how roughly you can define it. So it's like very serious and pervasive problem, especially in the colleges and for those who are preparing for these competitive examination. Okay, so sometimes you get just frozen up during maths examination and to attempting to avoid anything having to do with numbers. Moreover, when you see numbers, you are maybe allergic with numbers. I'm sure like your problem is not that serious, but still like we should talk openly to it. Moreover, not only the source of problem, but also we see how to reduce it and how to terminate it from fundamentals. Okay, so even the, like by looking at the mathematical paper, sometimes you'll get physical problems like shortness of breath, sweating, some, heartbeat increased or increased blood pressure. This happens to most of you. Many a time you have some psychological issues coming off, or all of a sudden you will see, like paralysis of thought. You become thoughtlessness. Memory loss, like all of a sudden you're doing something and you become completely void, or loss of self-confidence, negative self-talk, right? Math avoidance, like you try to avoid the mathematics paper and switch to this paper. Isolation, thinking you are the only one who feels this way. So these are the symptoms and other negative maths experience may lead to vicious cycle in which fear of mathematics and learning maths can be very, like kind of annoying things in your life. Okay, so now the question is why we are getting this maths anxiety. So let's try to be very scientific, and I'm thankful to most of the sources. Okay, especially to high anxiety of mathematics variety was a nice, community college research program nation. And like there are many organizations along with many universities, Indian and foreign universities, who are working on this. So more than teaching mathematics, you must know what is the fundamental problem behind learning mathematics. Okay, so let's go ahead. So before I go ahead and define what is maths anxiety, let's quote Sir Albert Einstein. He's like, don't worry about your difficulties in mathematics. I assure you that mine are greater. And being a teacher, of course, I'm not a seasoned mathematician. So being a teacher, based on my teaching experience so far in this competitive environment, I can assure, like even as a teacher, sometimes, and in fact most of the times, especially when I'm teaching for Olympiad kind of courses, I do have to think a lot for questions. And I'll confess very honestly, like there are some questions where even, hours of work and hours of thinking goes. And still you feel frustrated, and that frustration even comes to me. So I'm not an exception. And I'm sure like no mathematics teacher on the planet is an exception to that. So this is something which you have to understand. Like, so first understand the problem, acknowledge the problem that yes, we have problem, and then we'll work on the solutions. So you see like there is a very nice diagram which depicts what maths anxiety. So cycle of failures, right? major cause of this anxiety comes from negative math experience. I'll just give little bit hint to what does it mean. You see, like in school days, most of you have learned about numbers. I mean like natural numbers, integers, and so on and so forth. We learned about whole numbers where zero was included in the bunch of numbers, and then we have rational numbers. Then we have numbers which are immortal and doesn't show any pattern, which we call as irrational numbers. Okay, even rational numbers can be immortal, but it will be reoccurring again and again. For example, 1 by 3, 0.333333, and so on and so forth. So those are the numbers which are immortal and never ending. Now you see, just I spoke some few paragraphs or some few sentences. You can clearly see the way I am portraying these numbers and the definition of irrational and rational is not a strong mathematical way. Rather, I am trying to relate with what we are already experiencing in our day-to-day life. And eventually, I am also using the word immortality instead of telling like number is non-terminating and not recurring. So as a teacher, it's our high responsibility, like not to directly jump into the mathematical format or the mathematical literature, at least to teach the like kids of class 5 or 6 or something, when the exposure of mathematical terms is very less for them. So we need to teach them with a very a layman sense of feeling has to be installed, and so that especially they could visualize mathematics. So this negative maths experience, which mostly in my teaching career I have seen, like when students come to class 11, they have a huge negative mathematical experience for most of the crowd, if not all. And that basically arises from not knowing why of the things. So I learned somewhere, when the why is known, the how becomes obvious. So if you know the why of something, you will definitely find a way how to do it. I can't stop myself by giving you one of the best examples, which is 2 raised to the power 0. And if you'll ask this question, 2 raised to the power 0, to almost any student of class 8, 9, 10, including 7 nowadays, they are becoming smart, they'll definitely tell 1 as the answer. But your next immediate question should be why. Why I should trust that it's 1? Why not it will be 2 or 20 or 27? Why not it will be 20 or 24? And then some of you will give a reason. 2 raised to the power 0 can be written as 2 raised to the power, let's say, 5 minus 5. And that can be written as 2 to the power 5 by 2 to the power 5. By law of exponents, you cancel and you get answer 1. I'll not tell like this is a perfect way of portraying this information, but this is good enough to give you a satisfaction, right? Then the next question might appear like, why 5 minus 5? Why not it's 10 minus 10? Of course, you can do the same thing. So you'll get 2 to the power 10 by 2 to the power 10. You can satisfy it, will come to 1. Right? Then you are like, okay, why not I'll write as 2 to the power 0 as 2 to the power 0 minus 0. Then will be like 2 to the power 0 by 2 to the power 0. And implies if I call 2 to the power 0 as x, so x equals x by x. With the belief like x is not 0, with that faith, if I cross multiply, we'll get x square equals x. So either x is 0 or x is 1, right? Now x equal to 0, maybe I'm forced not to believe, because 0 by 0 feels something magical. So if I keep this aside, still there is a lot of research to this. So we are forced to believe like 2 to the power 0, let's define to be 1. Again, the question is I have used, whether it's a definition or I'm forced to define it like that, or it is a natural incarnation of the law of exponents. Okay, so I'll not go, as I promised, much into the depth of this, but one thing I can tell, like this proof is basically kind of a scam. Why it's a scam? Because in the very next step, you have assumed that 2 to the power 0 is 1 to prove 2 to the power 0 is 1. Let's see how. 2 to the power 5 minus 5. Now from this step, how I am allowed to write 2 to the power 5 by 2 to the power 5. Then some of you might reason 2 to the power 5 into 2 to the power minus 5. And then it's 2 to the power 5 into 1 by 2 to the power 5, and here you go. Now there is fundamental flaw here, because how will you prove 2 to the power minus 5 equals 1 by 2 to the power 5? And then your logic is write this as 0 minus 5, it's 2 to the power 0 by 2 to the power 5, and it's 1 by 2 to the power 5. So you see, from going to this step to this step, we have already assumed that 2 to the power 0 is 1. So is this a valid proof? No, not at all. But in some sense, it doesn't, like stop you not to think in this way. So although this proof is kind of cyclic proof, to prove something you have already assumed something, but at least it's better than those who has logic and some reasoning, right? In fact, let me tell you what's the proof. The proof comes from finding pattern. So let's say we find the pattern 2 to the power 1, and that goes to 2. 2 raised to power 2 is 4. It's just 2 multiplies 2 times. 2 raised to power 3 is 8. 2 raised to power 4 is 16, and so on and so forth. So what we can see, your any next neighbor is just twice of your ancestor, right? So if I want the next guy, it will be 32. Next guy will be 64. So there is some pattern in this number starting from 2 raised to power 1. If you want to preserve the pattern, if you appreciate and if you are a believer of this pattern, then we'll move backward. Okay, maybe in our past life. So if I believe, if I am superstitious about there is something to past life, and if I believe in this pattern, then I am forced to define 2 to the power 0 as 1, because 4 divided by 2 is 2, 2 divided by what is 1? 2 divided by 2 will give 1, right? Then 2 to the power minus 1, now you can, like just transfer the pattern even to the next or before ancestors. So if this is 1, 1 by 2 will directly be a natural definition of 2 raised to power minus 1. 2 raised to power minus 2, half divided by 2, it's 1 by 4. Now the beauty is we don't even care what this 2 raised to power minus 1 physically means. Just we know it is defined as 1 by 2. So it's just another symbol for 1 by 2. But there is an underlying philosophy in this. I believed, I have faith that pattern exists. Now, am I forced to believe in this pattern? Of course no. I don't believe in past birth or something. I don't believe in pattern. Because maybe this might look good to you. It's not looking good to me. Then I am free to select any value of 2 to the power 0, right? So even I can select 2 to the power 0 as 25. That is as correct as defining 2 to the power 0 is 1. I hope you are getting sense of me. So with the faith that let's try to preserve the pattern, you are forced to define 2 to the power 0. Once you take away that faith, you are not forced to define 2 to the power 0 as 1. Rather, you can define it anything of your choice. But in order to have a mathematical integrity of the subject, okay, in order to appreciate the pattern finding, which is the very core and essence of the cosmos in which we are living, perhaps, we go away with this idea of defining 2 to the power 0 is 1. So it's not a theorem, it's a definition. So you see, now when you read just 2 to the power 0 as 1, it's no less than or no more than reading history, right? So by this simple example, I have just told you how to read maths. You must understand logic, you must question the questions, and that's very important. Usually what happens when a kid is very small and he is, like very anxious and he is very, vulnerable to the system in the surrounding, in the sense like he'll always keep questions to his mom and dad, like what's that, what is there, why it's working like this. And of course, like practically for a parents also it's not possible to give answer to everything. Especially you must have seen kids of like 4 to 5 years of age who keep on asking questions. That is their natural tendency of acquiring information from the surrounding. Unfortunately, we always suppress their question, and this has a long lasting impact on their academic career later. So of course I can't expect like every question will be answers, but at least we should not suppress their like curiosity, because once you suppress their curiosity, they feel unconsciously that the art of asking question is of no use, it is irrelevant, and I should never ask the question. So the same child comes to class 8, he reads 2 to the power 0 is 1 and he just accepts it without questioning it. So from parental side also, I think a lot of thing has to be done. Okay, so this is about negative maths experience. You did not get a good mathematical environment, rather unfortunately not good guide, with due respect to teachers, but still teachers are like fundamental tools who can create interest in a child. Second is maths avoidance. So usually we avoid mathematical logic or mathematical thinking because it's painful. Right? Third is poor maths performance. Like sometimes you get very poor grade and your confidence goes down, even your parents starts scolding. because basically they are more interested just in the numbers that you are getting out of 10 grade rather than your actual content and the actual experience that you are getting from a system or schooling. And the last but not the least is poor preparation. Of course, there can be many add-on, but mostly I consider this. Okay, so this is the vicious cycle that leads a student to delay or to stop thinking maths course, which fundamentally and naturally will limit their educational opportunities. Especially in today's, like increasingly technical society, it's more important than ever for a student to have knowledge of maths. Okay, so according to their one national university in France, they quoted a starting salaries up to like $2,000 per year for every mathematics course after ninth grade. A recent Business Week article states the world is moving into a new age of numbers, and you can see the importance of data science and especially coding and these things nowadays. Everything is becoming online. Okay, so mathematics is something which is unavoidable. And as a teacher, I should not only preach and teach mathematics, but also tell you how to read mathematics. Fortunately, I feel like after today's lecture, you'll be a little bit less mathematics anxious and your anxiety will go down. Okay, and of course, you too can learn to overcome your maths anxiety and successful in maths. When I tell about maths success, I doesn't just mean getting good grades on your mark sheet. It's much more than that. Before we go further, let's have a self-test. And you have to rate your answers from 1 to 5. Add them up and check your score below. Okay. First, you see many often you'll find like I have to go to math class and you cringe about that. Second is I'm uneasy about going to the board in a maths class when you're asked to come to solve some problems on board. Third is I'm afraid to ask questions in maths class. Fourth, I'm always worried about being called on in maths class. For some kids, it'll be like, I understand maths now, but I worry that's going to get really difficult soon. Sixth one, I tend to zone out in maths class. Like you feel really isolated. I fear maths test more than any other kind. I don't know how to study for maths test. It's clear to me in maths class, I'm getting in class, but when I go to home, it's like I was never there. I'm afraid I won't be able to keep up with the rest of the class. So, like you can just tick out of 1 to 5. So 5 is agree and 1 is disagree. And depending upon your honest confession, just check in which category you are. So pause the video and try to have this quiz. Now you can check your score. If it is you are getting 40 to 50, it's just a rule of thumb. I'm not telling like this is a perfect scientific way of evaluation, but more or less it's a thumb rule of doing this. So 40 to 50 is no doubt you have maths anxiety. If your score is 40 to 50, you have definitely got math anxiety. If it's less than 39 and between 30 to 39 you are still fearful. 20 to 29 you are on the fence, you are on the boundary line. So, and 10 to 19 this lecture is not for you. Okay, you can just throw this away and start doing maths. Okay, so for those who are in the category first, second or third, let's move further. So these are the major issues that you are feeling. And of course, there will be like you are not able to perform in maths. So before we go further, let me break some myth. Very often you'll see like many students will have that feeling like you have to be born with mathematical brain. Like people who are successful in mathematics is not usually born that way. Like you need to acquire that. Okay, like any other thing in general, it also takes knowledgeable teachers, willing students, and more importantly and significantly, a great deal of time and practice. Okay. So it's not a 1 day or 1 month or 1 year job. It's a time process. It's a time-taking process, right? You have to be acquainted with the jargons of mathematics. You have to understand the literatures. Okay, you must know how to read between sentences, how to read between those words, and get acquainted with the nomenclatures and vocabulary. So mathematics has its own grammar, it has its own terminology, and which is quite beautiful, and there is logic to everything. When you write infinity, there is logic to even this, right? Even this symbol means like there is no ending, no beginning, and no end to this. When you write percentage, it has its meaning. So you are writing 100. It means percentage, means how much in 100. So you see 100 is revealing here 1, chotu 0, chotu 0. Right? When you use the word let ABC be the triangle, You already know like ABC be a triangle. Then why to use this word let ABC be a triangle? Have you ever wondered? Well, the answer is because it might happen after solving you'll get ABC as a straight line. So you can't start by assuming ABC be a triangle for sure. So let's suppose like we are doubtful. Maybe after doing all calculations, I find the angle B becomes 180 degree. So that will become just a straight line. So for every small chunks, there is logic to this. Of course, you need a good trainer for that. But nowadays, when you are exposed with so much content, of course, instead of just blindly doing and surfing Instagram reels, which I'm not telling like is always bad, but sometimes you can do, it's better you go and, like explore these fundamental things in your free time, which is interesting also, and you'll have learning as well. So these symbols and notation make up the rules, and terminology is the vocabulary. Doing maths homework is like practicing and conversation of maths. And if you have to become fluent, it requires years of practice and continuous use. So you don't need to be mathematically genius to do mathematics, especially for the JEE kind of preparation. It's just a monotonic standard mathematics course that's given to you, unlike Olympiad examination. So I feel like average, below average, everyone can learn mathematics and come with a, like be creative and good at maths. Mathematics is present everywhere, right from art to writing to musician to chemistry, physics, and everything. Music, film, philosophy. So it's essential to many creative fields. When we'll see the very fundamental law of thermodynamics, which talks like out of nothing you can't create something. Like this is a fundamental law of what you call energy or even mass or mass plus energy as a whole. So in a layman language, like if you need to have something, you have to have something in the beginning, right? So nothing can come from free. Okay, so geometry is the right foundation of all painting, you see. Even Hardy stated, I'm interested in mathematics only as a creative art. Okay, maths is a wonderful thing, it's a really cool thing. So get off, let's do some maths everywhere. So what are the rules for combating anxiety? This is not, like kind of dictation. So basically you should take each and every word very effectively and very seriously if you are really wanting to be good at maths. So learn a stress management and relaxation technique. The best way that you can do is breathing exercise, which is called pranayama in our Sanatan Dharma, and meditation. There is no other replacement for this. This I am telling from your personal experience. This will help you to relax in any stress situations, and it will not only be helpful to deal with maths but also for your other life problems. You'll be dealing with nervousness and tension that affects sounds and mass anxiety. Now very sadly, like everyone tells you do meditation, but no one tells you how to do meditation. Okay, so there is some nice YouTube video. If you want, I can share a link. Please go through that and try to imbibe this from now onwards. Second is combat negative thinking. Now this is kind of a dynamic situation because all of a sudden you can't combat that. For that you need to really do something to overcome that. So lack of confidence is a major key, to this anxiety. Replace those negative thoughts like I can't do this, or I've never been good at maths, I won't finish in time, with confidence. I know this, I'm prepared, I can do this. Even if you are less prepared, there still you give yourself a pseudo satisfaction. Even you are pretending that you are good, that will make you good, right? Because all the time your brain cells will feel like it's always trying to pass a good thoughts. So that will synchronize your brain in a good way. Third is visualize yourself succeeding. It's very important. Recently I was going through one of the research in a gym. It was there in, like from a Western country. And out of 100 people, 30 people were made to sit at home for 2 months. And they were just asked to visualize as if they are doing gym training. And you'll be surprised to know it's a proven fact scientifically. You can Google it. 13% mass gain was there for those people who were just sitting at home and was able to visualize that they are going to gym, like they are in gym and doing those actions. So that's the power of your brain. So So the visualization is very important. You imagine yourself being relaxed doing maths and during a test and confidently solving the problem. This will happen like at least for the beginning. You don't worry much about the marks or the numbers that is being served on your plate. And in that, of course, parents can help you by understanding your concern. Fourth, the most important thing is do easiest problem first. Directly, you can't go to gym, like hit some 50 kg weight. So you have to start with 5 kg, maybe 2 kg. That depends upon your caliber. That depends upon your confidence. So build your confidence day by day slowly. And the best thing that you can do is to start, especially for this JEE kind of preparation, is to start with NCRT. So once you start with NCRT, try to read it by yourself, because nowadays the comprehensive ability of students has gone down drastically, and you have to accept this fact, because you are always dependent on your teachers, on your parents. So comprehensive ability will go on when you will have a habit of book reading. It's not only maths reading, you can read novels sometimes, but of course be more focused towards the kind of skill that you want to develop, and in this case it's maths. Channelize your stress into something else. So free up your mind by relieving some of your physical responses. Better you go, get up, run around at least for half an hour. Okay, not before the test. Okay, or you can, like, daily exercises is must, right? That's what I'm talking about. Start preparing early. So usually, like it takes time, even in the coaching institute or some other schooling system, your brain needs time to get accustomed to that environment. So all of a sudden you can't be in a competitive environment. Okay, there is something called inertial time, which you have to break, and again you have to restart your journey. So it's better if you can prepare early. Preparing doesn't mean like you start doing, like JEE mathematics in class 8 itself. If you are doing, it's great, but not everyone is, like awarded with natural intelligence. So you have to develop that intelligence, right? What I'm telling is, when you are in class 7 or class 8, just you do class 8 steps in a very logical way. Not just because you want marks, but also because you love that subject. And that love will not come just in one day. You have to be associated with that numbers again and again. Okay, you don't start loving your parents just in one day. Because sometimes it happens like you hate him or her or your mom or dad because they have not given you something which you wanted. Most of the time you like him because they are respecting your opinion and maybe they respect your want. So more and more time you'll spend with anyone or anything, the more and more you'll get to know him or her or an object. Same goes with maths. So have more conversation with those numbers, and slowly you will feel like it is becoming yours. If you try to cram the material, you are likely to forget it quickly. If you practice the material over a period of time, you'll have better understanding of it and less likely to forget under stress. Take care of yourself. Although it's not easy when you are in school, eating and sleeping well helps your body and mind function to the fullest potential. I think your parents can help you a lot, and especially take advice from teacher. And the most important thing which always motivated me, especially for Olympiad preparations in this, understand the why of subject rather than just how. The first thing to go when you are under stress is your short-term memory. This is one reason it's so important to understand the math is not just a set of rules you have to memorize, but that each concept builds on what came before. If you understand the reason behind every rule, you'll definitely remember it. Okay, you'll have your own ways of understanding the subject, and concepts better apply them in many different practical problems. Find a support group, very important. You become what you are surrounded with. So support group is especially helpful for adults with maths anxiety. Last but not the least, reward yourself for hard work. After completing a difficult assignment, not only getting marks in examination, even sometimes you do a good problem, it's time to give yourself a break. I'll not recommend much chocolate, but sometimes it's fine. Or a party doesn't mean just you go out and starting partying, okay, by solving every problem. It simply means like that kind of satisfaction should just, like be thrown on your face. You can even talk to your mom and dad and tell them, yes, I accomplished this. Don't be introvert. Talk with them also. Okay, let that mom feeling, let that son feeling in you be alive. Because nowadays in this cutthroat competition, hardly you are with your parents till class 12. After that, you are going to go to college and schools. Thereafter, you'll have your work, jobs. Again, you'll have your own life partners in this. So this is the high time, especially kids till class 12, that you are spending this quality time with your parents. Cherish that, and you are so lucky to have them. And so are they, of course. Okay, so these are mostly the practical way of reducing, maths anxiety. Now there is something more to that. And I know like video is getting long, but I think this is more important than doing just maths. So I thought of doing this lectures for everyone, not only for those who are preparing for JEE. Now one of the most, like obvious doubt that everyone tells is like how to study maths, how to plan your time, one of the most obvious doubt everyone has is how to plan your time, how to study at home, how to prepare for test, how to study in class, and how to take a test, more importantly. Okay, so here we go. So if you care at all, you'll get some result. If you care enough, you'll get incredible result. This is John, author and motivational speaker. No one has ever drowned in a suit. What a fantastic statement by Lew Holtz. The most practical, beautiful, and workable philosophy in the world won't work if you want. See how powerful these statements are. So how to succeed? There is no panacea. You need to work at it. There is no other way. Homework is extremely important. It's just not, like set of robotic questions which is thrown at you. There's a scientific, analyzed way of creating interest in problem solving. Okay. So you can ask your problem to the teachers later. What type of problem you have difficulty with. So first thing, set aside the adequate time. Each day you study and discipline yourself to use it. Read over your notes. Do enough exercises to achieve mastery. Try to solve every problem in the homework. Make notes to ask your teacher about the problems you could not do. Ask questions early and often. Analyze your error, make note of it. If possible, find a group of students or study to work with. Discuss the homework problems with classmates before class. This is very important, which I keep on telling. Help other students with homework if you can. There's no better way. I think this is the best way to learn material than to explain it to someone else. And while doing homework, you can always make a different plan of the questions. Like let's say you are in coaching or in a school or wherever you are. Okay, you can segregate your homework questions into 4 categories. One is easy, medium, difficult, and very difficult. So you do your own marking system for problems. Let's say you have 30 problems, you segregate into groups. Usually in coachings you have exercises, let's say 4A, 4B or whatever. So you segregate problems into easy, medium, difficult, and this. What is easy problem? Let's define it. So 30 to 40% problem in the module or in any worksheet you'll get easy. So this is something which you could solve in the first go. So you don't have to think much conceptually on that, or even calculations were not hard. Medium is you got the idea after thinking for 2 to 3 minutes. So for 2 to 3 minutes, you got the ideas. So thought process is taking time. Okay, but once you got the ideas, thereafter, you could directly, like solve this. Like the calculation was not that mess. Difficult is you had to spend time to think for this. Maybe 5 to 10 minutes for the ideas. Or even if ideas is not coming, still you have to spend 2 to 3 minutes to understand the solution. If at all you see this. Even by looking at the solution, you have to understand it, and it's taking 2 to 3 minutes. Then you have very difficult problems. So even solution could not enlighten you. Even by looking at the solutions, you are not able to understand this. So once you'll do this in practice, like for 2 or 3 times every week, I'll recommend for everything, every module, you segregate into these 4 categories. That will help a lot scientifically. In revision time, you can revise 2, 3, 4 categories. So let's call category 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 you don't have to revise. It's unnecessary killing time, because the questions which you could get in the first go, you'll never go forget it. Okay. Now for the second time after let's say a week, when you're revising these same questions, that's very important revision. Okay. You can just revise medium, difficult, and very difficult some. So these 2 are must to revise, right? In the examination also, mostly you have 30% questions easy. So even if you are able to bring 90% in that, your score will be above average. Now, the most students are not able to do even an easy question because they are not practice of segregating question at home. So this segregation is very important in homework. Also, it's I feel like you make a short notes of the formulas or formula sheet because you can't afford to derive every result in the examination hall. Let's say distance of a point from a line is there. Okay, so like there is some formula to this: x plus by plus c by root over a square plus b square. So given a point x comma y and a line x plus by plus c, let me call x1 comma y1. So you have this formula, whatever it is. Those who are not acquainted, you don't worry. So you first must prove this formula into 2-3 ways so as to understand the physics behind maths. Once you have proved this, you should not start proving the examination hall. Because proving in the examination hall will cost you much. So save time. Remember this formula. The best way to remember the formula is not to remember it. Just practice more and more problems. I will directly come to you. To ensure that you do the module again and again so as to shift your revision part to 70% to 30%. Because first time when you are doing the sheet, it will take maybe 1.5 hours for 30 questions or 2 hours. For the second time when you are doing medium difficult and very difficult again, it will take maybe just 1 hour. For the third time, it will take just 40 minutes. So by this, you are increasing your speed. Moreover, when you are solving question for the first time, your focus is mostly on the conceptual understanding. So I don't ask you to do time-based like practice in the very first go. In first go, you should be very comfortable, do the way you want to do and try to focus mostly on concept. In the second go, since conceptually you are okay, so now put timer and try to solve the question in time constraint. All the calculations, don't skip any calculation. Many times students, once they are good at concept, they'll feel like, okay, these calculations anyway, I know, so I'll directly do an examination hall. Okay, of this, your speed and accuracy suffers and you do a lot of mistakes. Okay, so by now you know exactly what to revise and what to not. So this is high time to follow this strategy. Now, how to study in class? It's very important. The first thing, you have to be very healthy. Okay, so try to avoid much fast food. I'm not telling you to completely delay it because even I feel personally on the fun note, like sometimes fast food is good because like it's like a testing mechanism for your system. But if you are addicted to anything, definitely you are not among the one who can do some wonders in life. So be ready for the lectures. Have your homework done. Look through the chapters which will be discussed. Once you have done the homework, you know the pain of not doing the questions. And then if a teacher explains something, you will witness that satisfaction and that pleasure will come to you. That's more than sufficient to understand maths. Have everything you might need for maths class ready with your pencils, instruments, and this and test book. Don't have an excuse. Ask questions every time you don't understand something. Don't wait until later. New materials is usually based on the previous chapter because mathematics, you don't read in compartments. It's a seamless connection of topics. This is how you study in class. Next is how to prepare for test. Now that is serious doubt from most of you. As I told, this is seamless connections. So you don't do homework differently and then preparation of test is not a different thing. The best way to prepare for test is to do homework when it is assigned. Don't delay and don't try to create more and more backlogs. Sometimes it's fine, but that you have to immediately get done in that week. Don't try to learn everything in one night before the test date, which most of you are doing and you are just a super flop. Write the summary of the maths concept and formulas. So gross ideas of what you have done. When you're doing coordinate geometry, gross ideas. Okay, it's Pythagoras theorem. And you see distance formula is nothing but reincarnation of Pythagoras theorem. Section formula is nothing but mere common sense. You have 2 points and you know at what ratio you are dividing this. So try to understand as if you are a layman, especially in class, but not in examination. Make a cheat sheet, even though you will not use it on the test, of course. Ask your teacher questions. That's very important if you don't understand. Try to do it ahead of time. There might be many students who need help right before test, right? Solve variety of questions you had in homework. Get plenty of rest before the test. Very important to take care of your physical health. And don't study all night. Get lots of sleep. Now the most important thing is what to do in examinations. Now this will work if and only if you have done the above said things properly. First, look over entire test. You will get a sense of its length. Now, how will you get the sense of length? This when you will do homework properly using that scientific technique of easy, medium, tough and very difficult. Try to identify those problems you definitely know. Now, how you will get to know, like which is easy, medium, tough, that will not come all of a sudden. Maybe sometimes you feel like questions are easy and it's taking time. That will happen if you are doing homework in a segregated way. So you are mimicking the same examination temperament while doing homework. Do the problems in the order that suits you. You can start with any subject. You are good at chem, or if you like it. Usually chemistry takes less time, so you can start with chemistry, then move to maths or physics, and then do maths. Usually in maths, unlike physics and chemistry, you will not have even a single, like theoretical based question. So for every question, you need to lift pen and do it. Do the one you are less sure about. So time is the essence. Work as quickly and as continuously as you can. How to do this? Again, you have to do the same and mimic same in your homework. If you get stuck on one problem, don't get stuck onto it. You should not have ego problem in the examination. Create ego problem. That's very important, but while reading it in classroom or at home. Move on to other question instantly after thinking for maybe 2 to 3 minutes. If the idea is not clicking in 3 minutes, it's better to move to the next question. Come back. Okay, and at least you write the ideas on which you are thinking. Maybe on the same ideas. It's not possible because mostly your brain starts thinking in a monotonous way or on one platform, and you know that platform is not giving you answers. Even for the 10 minutes you'll think you are not thinking anything new, so it's just wastage of time, right? If you get stuck on a problem, move on another. You can come back later. Work by clock. On a 50-minute 100-point test, you have to have 5 minutes for a 10-point question. Okay, so start with the easy question, will probably put you ahead of clock. When you work on a harder problem, you spend a lot of time, let's say 5 minutes. If you have not almost finished, go to other problem. Don't expect 20 minutes on a problem. That's a disaster, which will yield few or no points when there are no other problems still to try. So all your work, make it as easy as possible for instructor to see how much you are doing. Especially in JEE perspective, this is not much because you are not writing, like subject examination. You have to show all your work, especially in going for board kind of examination. There you have to reason your solutions. In JEE problem, you have many ways. You can scam some problem by putting some data. You can do elimination. I'll come with separate video later on that. You are not required to fit your answer in the space provided. Okay, you can put your answer on another answer sheet or whatever. This is especially for board examination. In a multiple step problem, especially for JEE related thing, okay, you must understand the problem properly. That's very important. And then try to correlate with the question. Don't give up on several part of problem just because you can't do the first part. So especially you have 4 parts which is quite unrelated. So at least you can do 2 of the options, right? That will fetch you marks. Make sure you read the questions very carefully and do all parts of each problem. Verify your answers. Just check whether you have some ambiguous condition as arise or some extraneous root is there. Okay, so have a check. But don't over check because sometimes you'll recheck your calculations 4 to 5 times. That's happening because you are anxious. That's what mathematics anxiety is, which can be combated easily at home. If you finish early, check every problem. Just the math rights as a student. So what are these rights which you are having? Those especially who have done complex number, this is a nice, smiley, which shows the influence of e power I by 2. Anyway, so there are some mathematics right as a student, and there is some duty as a teacher. So as a teacher, I will not discuss duty. That is discussed in the classroom. And you learn not from our pravachan, but you learn from the content that we deliver and the way you deliver it. So I hope all of you are enjoying your classroom and mathematics classroom. If not, as a maths student, I have the right to learn at my own pace and not feel put down. I am slower than someone else. It will take time to you to show up in marks, but definitely sooner or later it will come. You have complete right to ask whatever question you have. Of course, like which might make you feel worse or ask a stupid question. Okay, and it's better like you ask them. Otherwise, you don't have a choice to fail an exam. You have right to need extra help. You have right to ask a teacher or tutor for help. You have right to say I don't understand. You have right not to understand. This is very important. When I'm at the end of my rope from frustration, I'll call on the people who love and understand me to give me preparation talks. I have the right to feel good about myself regardless of my abilities in math. It's not like there is nothing I do well. Okay, maybe you are good at a sport or something. It's the same human brain. So you have your own place where you have confidence and a skill. And you are more than what you are in the maths classroom, right? It's not just a bunch of numbers will judge your entire life. There is nothing larger than your life. You have right not to base your self-worth on mathematical skill. You have full right to view yourself as capable of learning maths. You have right to evaluate your math instructors and give feedback accordingly and how they teach. And probably in most institutes and coachings and schools, you have this right. And basically, this is the only right you are fundamentally, like using. So I want you to all other rights as well. You have right to relax. If you don't take your vacations, your vacation will take you, right? So you have right to be treated as competent adult. You have right to dislike maths. That's very good. Or to love it, of course. But have it confound me. You have right to dislike maths. You have right to define success in your own terms and conditions. So this is the power to the math sciences people. We shall overcome, we shall overcome, we shall overcome just soon, not one day. Okay. I hope this might have given you exactly what mathematics is and how basically you have to read it. If you follow even 80% of this, I'm sure you are going to come with flying colors. And this was not a medicine or something to help you out of a severe disease. And I'm sure none of you are diseased. All of you are mathematically healthy. Okay, just follow these tips seriously and you'll see the result.